two critical candidates, Fred Matiang'i and Kalonzo Musyoka, and attempted to see who between them had higher chances of becoming the presidential flag bearer. This week, in this series, we are looking at Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua. Not because there would be any competition for 2027, but because of the very obvious fact that 2027 more than 2022, the president of Kenya will be a man or a woman determined by the Mount Kenya. The Mount Kenya bloc will determine who becomes president. The man or woman the mountain puts their hand on is not only going to be a big challenger to William Ruto, but more likely would stand the chance of becoming the president. And therefore today we ask, how will the mountain move in this decision making? Ideally, Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua should sit together, agree on a direction for the country and the role of the Mount Kenya community in that direction. More specifically, agree, for example, between all the presidential candidates, who would the community support? Top candidates for the community as of now are Matiang'i and Kalonzo. So, ideally, therefore, Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta will agree that it is Fred Matiang'i, for example. And they will then ask the community, convince the community, have a conversation with the community that will lead the entire Mount Kenya community supporting that candidate. So therefore, if the two agreed on a candidate, it will be smooth sailing for the candidate. The community will receive guidance. But politics rarely works like that, for the simple reason that politics is a game of power. The moment you agree to sit down with people or with somebody, you essentially mean you are willing to cede part of that power. And therefore, I can see a situation where the two, especially after this launch, because you don't expect Uhuru Kenyatta, most likely supporting Matiang'i for now, and even Kalonzo perhaps, but seeing the role of Jubilee as either as a candidate to front Matiang'i, or Jubilee as the party to work together with the Wiper and other parties to bring Kalonzo to be the flag bearer and support him. By the launch of this party, Gachagua has put himself in direct conflict with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So today we must begin looking at the two as potential rivals and examine each with a view to finding out, if push came to shove, if Uhuru faced one direction and Rigathi Gachagua faced the other direction, who would the community follow and why? If Gachagua stood for presidency and Uhuru Kenyatta supported Matiang'i, who will carry the day? If Kenyatta, Uhuru supported Matiang'i, Rigathi Gachagua supported Eugene Wamalwa, who would carry the day? Or Kalonzo Musyoka? Let's look at Uhuru Kenyatta. President for 10 years. And therefore, when it comes to politics, Gachagua does not compare to Uhuru Kenyatta in that respect. And experience in this world, sometimes overrated though, is still very, very, very important. Uhuru Kenyatta, before becoming president, a politician in this country at the time, Rigathi Gachagua, Gachagua was a DO or a PA. Again, you can't ignore that. Uhuru Kenyatta, a multi-billionaire in his own right. You cannot ignore that. Because resources and the politics go hand in hand. Rigathi Gachagua may have some little money, but that will be new money, which you can't compare to all the money which Uhuru has. And in absolute terms, for every 1 shilling Gachagua puts on the table, Uhuru can put several shillings, many times over. Uhuru Kenyatta is a Kenyatta, son of Kenya's first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Again, that's not something you can wish away. With all these years of experience, with all these years of being a billionaire and a Kenyatta, a president, a politician, a cabinet minister, with all these years, Uhuru has accumulated not just experience, not just resources. Uhuru has accumulated friends, if you want to talk that way. It's obvious that Uhuru has friends across the world. Uhuru has networks in the country and beyond. Business associates, political partners and friends. Uhuru has what it takes to help a candidate. And I know already people will be pointing at Raila Odinga in 2022. We shall come to that. But cumulatively, Uhuru has experience you can't compare with Gachagua. He has networks and friends and resources which Gachagua doesn't have. So on that score alone, it would be wrong to try and compare the two. And therefore, if we are looking for a person who can push the community agenda when there's a conflict between the two, I think Uhuru Kenyatta will prevail. On account of those accumulated experiences and the resources and the networks and all that, connections. But let's look at the weaknesses. First, people have said Uhuru Kenyatta is a weak leader. And therefore, if you are looking for a strong person, Gachagua beats Uhuru hands down. Gachagua is forceful. Gachagua doesn't spare anybody. Gachagua punches straight, shoots straight. So Uhuru, therefore, is viewed as weak, and he said so in his own words, that people are saying, me, I'm not like my father. When my father akitoa njora, inarudi ikiwa na damu. So on that score, Gachagua beats Uhuru. The community from which these two come values fighters. The epitome of which, of course, then is the Mau Mau struggle for independence. The struggle, the fighting, the sacrifice, the bloodshed, and all that. So on that score, Gachagua beats Uhuru hands down. That the community requires a jaba. Uhuru is a mdamaki, a prince. But Gachagua is a fighter. That explains why William Ruto chose